Hey moon lovers, welcome to another episode of All Things Moon, Lunar Wisdom for Everyday Life with myself, Kelly Jones. And I deeply apologise for not being around last week. One of the key words that I have on my screen here in my notes in front of me is breaking point and surrender. I've also got breakthrough. Not sure that the breakthrough has happened yet, but that is yet to come. But yes, I deeply apologise for no podcast episode last week, which has left you guys out there without a week's worth of preparation for the week that is to come. And it's also left me with so much to share with you that I'm not sure how much I can fit into this one episode this week, but I will do my best to condense down so much planetary action. And I'm sure I don't even need to tell you, because I am sure if you are here listening to me, that you're already noticing the intensity of this period of time that we find ourselves in. And that's probably why you're here. And it's why I'm here. It's why I follow the moon and the stars, why I have studied and become an astrologer. It is the thing that saves me every time things get intense, that and being on my yoga mat. And so the exciting news of the past couple of weeks is that I have finally started my new yoga and Pilates classes at a lovely new studio, which I've told you about before in previous episodes, called Studio Libra. Been open for almost 2 weeks now, and it is wonderful there. And this week, when I have found myself at aforementioned breaking point, I was sitting here trying to meditate, and my particularly beautiful but needy cat was just leaning up on me, wanting to kiss my face while I was trying to meditate. And so I picked up my phone and, scrolled on social media, and I saw a picture of a cup of coffee saying part of wellness is having our coffee on Studio Libra's social media. And that made me realize that I don't need to go to a class there. I can just go there. So I put my coat on, picked my bag up and walked. It only takes me 7 or 8 minutes to walk there. And I went and sat in there for a couple of hours, and their ethos is all around balance and harmony. And that is what I am finding there, which was timely and much needed. So needed for others that are coming to classes there, but also needed for myself to have somewhere to go where there are some beautiful people that just, a cup of dirty chai, a cup of chai with a little shot of Pluto espresso in it, and a nice chat and a chill. That's what was needed. But anyway, let's get to the point. And the point is that I would love to sugarcoat this and tell you some lovely things. And what I will say, as I always say, is when these intense, transformative, potent energies and moon phases and planetary aspects are happening, ultimately, just like the sun is behind those stormy clouds always, there is always some kind of light in the darkness, even if we can't see it right now, that is there for us and not happening to us. And it would be very, very easy to slip into a victim state of mind with all the potentials of the times that we've got coming up. And as we know, in astrology, the same as in tarot, cards, all it can do is give us a weather forecast. It's an astrological forecast, and we can tell you that, yes, it's extremely likely that it could be like this. But once we're aware of that, we have the free will to choose how we use that, how we respond to that. And the only thing sometimes we can do, and the only thing anytime really that we can do, is change ourselves, is control ourselves. We cannot possibly control what the planets, where they're situated and how they're moving, but we can, to some degree, make a difference to the effect that the archetypal likelihoods of where they are all situated can. They're not actually making anything happen. It's just because where they are at that particular time, it is more likely that these things will arise. They're not causal. They're not making these things happen to us. We can't really blame them, but we can look at ourselves and what we do within it. So, my key words: breaking point. I myself personally have experienced that breaking point just this week. And whenever I research for what is coming, as I've said before, there is some kind of divinatory, intuitive, instinctive thing that happens that makes me realise that I am already noticing these things playing out. So by the time I come to tell you about any of this, I've already got some stories to back it up. So if you listen to me regularly, then you would know that when Tom and I had been to Sardinia. Tom is my partner. We'd been to Sardinia, and just before we left, his van exploded, and not in an extreme dangerous way. Everything was fine, but half of his engine fell out on the motorway whilst driving at full speed, and that has caused us some explosive drama, that's for sure. It's his work van, it's his livelihood, so to keep some of his work going that we could manage without some of that equipment, we have been working out of my poor little car, which is a little old Beetle. My car is an absolute wreck because we are in week 4 of that situation. We've been waiting for his van to be back, and happy days, happy news. He has picked up his van with a brand new engine in it and various other new parts, and this morning. And I've just spoken to him before I came on here just to say to him, I'm going to be recording a podcast. Did everything go okay? When are you going to be back? And I've got to tell you, I am really appreciating this moment, really appreciating it, because it has been really tense here. We have been challenged. I cope with things really, really well, but, sometimes too well. Tom doesn't manage his emotions so well. And so a lot of that has been, lent on me, shall we say. And this week I really did reach my limit. Those boundaries that I'm always talking about, they had to be shown. They had to be put up. They had to be stated. And, in the nicest way that I could, realizing through all of this what was coming up and how I was experiencing it. So one of the things I think I've mentioned before, but we really are in it now, is the planet Mars being in the sign of Cancer, and where he would maybe normally only be there for about 6 to 8 weeks, he is definitely going to be hanging around, popping in and out to the sign of Cancer over the next 6 months until April. And I personally have Mars in Cancer in my birth chart. So any of you out there who have Mars in Cancer in your birth chart will be experiencing to some degree the effects of that, maybe more strongly, but collectively we are experiencing that as well. Mars, the red planet. So I just still think it's quite funny how sometimes these things play out literally. And I decided to dye my hair fiery red in this Cancerian body of watery emotion as Mars moves into Cancer. So this literally is the red planet in Cancer. And we have to have some kind of, some kind of humour in all of this. Otherwise, we will go a little stir crazy. Other words that I've got here: surrender, breakthrough, explosive drama, a liberating crescendo, healing on a deep soul level, a fresh start. I also saw, in all my research, I saw this little quote that somebody said, I am not afraid, but I do expect challenge and strife. And I think that depicts very perfectly this upcoming moon phase that we're coming into. So we are actually still in the first quarter moon phase. That was officially on Thursday. I have my first quarter moon phase candle burning bright next to me here for a little bit of ambiance, and I decided not to put the whole ring light setup on today. I've kind of gone for that whole fireside glow with my lovely salt lamp next to me. And again, as always, apologies for any glare in my glasses, but I really do need my glasses on. I'm feeling a little jaded from the emotions and the ups and downs of the challenges that recently has brought. Also, since the last time I saw you, we had that eclipse in Libra and we had that grand water trine, and I don't need to tell any of you out there about the amount of water that people have been experiencing to extreme degrees in the world recently. But that came to me in this house as eclipses are sudden endings, and we had the sudden ending of our boiler. So no hot water, no heating. It's just turned cold here. Not too cold, but the weather has changed. We're into autumn. We're in middle of October nearly, and the last thing that we needed whilst we're not working fully at the moment, we haven't got our full income coming in, was the need of a new boiler. But luckily, I'm blessed to my hairdresser who does my hair. Her partner is a plumber, and he very quickly fitted that new boiler for us last weekend. So lots of disruption in the house, as you can imagine, stressed out cats and all that kind of stuff, stressed out us. So having to use the tools that we have, that we know that we can use. So spending more time on my yoga mat for sure, and doing some creative stuff as well. I had an order for one of the crystal crowns that I make, Moon Goddess crystal crowns. Had an order for that, so I really enjoyed sitting and finalising all the labels and the boxing and making it all beautiful and dropping that off to a lovely lady I know, Nicola, who is running a women's retreat this coming week down in Glastonbury. I did say to her, wow, you've chosen a time for a women's releasing retreat, perfectly timed with the full moon that we've got coming up on the 17th. So as we speak, it's Saturday, the 12th of October, as I'm recording this. This weekend, we see Mercury in a square to the planet Pluto. So Mercury, your planet of communication, the trickster, in a square, which is a challenging aspect to the planet of transformation, death and rebirth, the deconstructor, as I like to call him, small, dark and intense. So Mercury squaring Pluto this weekend as Mercury takes his final bow in the sign of Libra and moves swiftly into the sign of the underworld, Scorpio. So those two things combined, Mercury squaring Pluto, would be shouting out the uncensored, undeniable truth. And as I was writing that down, I thought to myself, well, I cannot sugarcoat. I need to be uncensored and tell you the undeniable truth of what we all find ourselves in collectively, and bearing in mind our own individual and unique blueprints, our birth charts, our own map of the world will make it dependent on how that is coming in at us. But I think none of us escape what's going on. But where it shows up in our own personal and individual world would be dependent on those birth charts. And, so as I've said before, get your birth chart done. Go to astro.com. You can get a free one there. I work with whole sign houses because I practice Hellenistic astrology. So you can go to the extended chart button and you can have a look on there, and you can find where you can put in whole sign charts, and that will let you know where your rising sign is. You do need your birth time as exact as you can get your birth time in there, and that will give you your rising sign, and that will give you a much better idea of where this will all be playing out for you. So with Mars, Mer is probably more the word, Mars in Cancer with this Mercury square Pluto, and Mars it's in Cancer for a very uncomfortably long stretch for myself personally, that's for sure. This could show up this weekend as strong opinions, leading to maybe heavy criticism and ultimately leading to very defensive attitudes and even forceful actions as we defend our position. So if you're on the receiving end of that, or if you are communicating that, watch out for that kind of conflict coming up, and realize that this is an extreme moment. It's more likely, if it needs to come out, then good. But if you can temper that, be aware of all of this, and do that in the best way that you possibly can to water down that Mars anger, which could look like passive aggressive, I know. So try not to go down that road, but realize, take a breath, take a step back. With this Aries full moon coming up, Aries goes steaming head first. This weekend, we've got a little build up to that. We've got a bit of time to think about it, to reflect. We've got Jupiter just turned retrograde, which is that time to everything, reflect, redo, rewrite that story, re-look at how you approach the situation. Remember that this storm will pass, but transformation is what is being sought. And just before I came on, I picked up my good tarot cards. They were the ones that I felt were necessary today. And as I was just shuffling the deck, there were some cards sitting on top from my last moon ceremony. So I was popping them away and just gave them a little shuffle. And a card popped out before I'd even come online, and look what card it is. I wish transformation for you. Yeah, it looks like she's blowing magic dust out into the universe and wishing for transformation. And, I could have a look at the deeper meaning of that in the accompanying book, but we don't really need any more information, do we? Transformation. This strong Pluto Mars, it's what it's all about. It's what's being sought. And with these aspects this weekend, the desire to dig deep and uncover the truth will be very strong. And we're also amidst the remnants of grand water trine emotions. And that is, just like the weather, it's a flood of emotion. But I feel like, looking at how it's been this breaking point this week, Tom tends to turn, he expresses as anger. It comes out as anger and frustration, whereas mine comes out as tears. But I really do feel that because it comes out, that flood comes out. It's not stuck inside. So it's not like a volcano waiting to erupt. But I really do feel like, globally, that is the energy at the moment, and it's undeniable. We also this weekend have Pluto stationing direct. He's stationed direct. And as we know from previous times, if you've been listening to me, that Pluto has been doing its last leg through the sign of Capricorn. It's been there since 2008. So it's bringing the death, the rebirth, and the transformation of all things that need to be changed in that sign of Capricorn. And he's finally stopped being retrograde and is going to start to move forwards. And by November 19th, he will be moving fully into Aquarius and will not be at the point that he's at right now again in our lifetimes. Not for another 248 years. He'll be in Aquarius for the next 20 years. So this is that last critical degree, the anoretic degree, almost a sense of desperation when the planet is in its last degree. It's the very last breath of it in that sign. Pluto is also, whilst this is happening, in a semi-square, so not a full square, but a semi-square, which is a semi-challenging aspect to Saturn. And this can bring that sort of existential crisis feeling of doom and gloom. Saturn and Pluto together in that aspect, the weather can indeed wreak devastation. And we have been seeing that across the globe. And whether you believe it is nature made or man made, because man is nature. These things, however they're playing out, whatever your belief, whatever the absolute uncensored truth is, and I just don't, the more I learn, the less I know. And I really don't think anybody really knows the absolute truth of it all as it comes to the surface. All we can do is look within ourselves to see what it is that's mirroring out from us. What can we heal within us? How can we change? Sorry, my cat is sitting on the lead of my headphones. I'm just making my head bow down. Sorry about that. It feels disempowering. These are formidable forces over which we have no control. It's a feeling of survival right now. And as Pluto, digs deep into its station, we will come face to face with some of our worst fears and dreads. But we move through them. We don't stay still. We never stay still. Whenever there is a disaster, there is always the other side. Whenever there is the ending, there is always a beginning. Cycles and cycles of endings and beginnings, and we push through it. And I'm sitting here on my own, sharing this with you, hoping to give you some, forewarning so you can be forearmed. And there is so many ways that we can help ourselves and we can help each other to get through all of this together. So I've got a massive cup of rose, lavender, and blue butterfly pea flower tea to help calm me. I have got all the herbs I've collected. Let's use them to help keep some sanity. So, with this last degree of Capricorn, this can be transforming the very foundations of our lives. Literally, the roads, the bridges, governments, leaders, infrastructure, old things that have been outdated, outmoded, no longer supportive, too oppressive. Everything needs to be revised as we approach this new era of time. Issues around power struggles come up this week as we come into this full moon in Aries. There is a grand cross forming between the signs of Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, the cardinal signs, the signs of initiation and motivation. We have Mars in Cancer, we have the moon in Aries, we have the sun in Libra, and Pluto in Capricorn, a grand cross. Foundations and structure. One of the things that has probably come apparent to all of us is the distinction between what we do have control over and those we simply do not. And when these forces happen, there's always something good happening in response. And I am seeing these mass meditations, people coming together to send positive hope, to literally in their minds collectively push that hurricane away from causing more havoc and devastation to people. Has it made a difference? I think it does. I don't think we know. I don't think we can ever see the good effects that these powerful energies have, because we tend to focus on the dark side of it. But in response, the light comes in. We've had some strange lights here this week in these seemingly lots of auroras and solar flares and things like that. We've also got Jupiter stationing and turning retrograde at the moment, and that can often reveal things around ethics and morals, and there's definitely some of that playing out in the greater propaganda news at the moment. How power is being used and abused and manipulated. But it needs to be seen so that collectively we can decide together that we can change things, that better times are definitely on the horizon here, because, chaos always precedes calm. We have this is the last of three supermoons. So this moon is particularly the closest to the Earth. It's going to reach its fullness at 12:26 UK time. It's conjunct, which means next to Chiron, the wounded healer, the teacher, the mentor. It's exactly conjunct the dwarf planet Aries, the planet of chaos and discord. It's opposite the sun and in a square to the combative Mars, the ruler of Aries, and square to Pluto. Whoa, you know, power and intensity, the co-rulers of Scorpio together in this grand cross. So it's important that wherever you wield your power, you ensure it's for good. I can elaborate all much more details around this because I have an hour and a half to talk, not just half an hour, and my upcoming moon ceremony. So the full moon is on Thursday the 17th, but the moon ceremony is happening online on Zoom at 8 p.m. UK time on the 16th. That's Wednesday the 16th, upcoming this week. If you go to my website, kellyjones.me, you can click to join. It's a very small amount of money. It's only £11 and 11p. If you really, really want to join and you really don't have a penny to your name at the moment, just let me know. I'd rather that you came and got some of this advice. There's always space for you. But, I need supporting too. So if you can find a way to book and pay, that would be amazing. And yeah, I'm going to leave you with a journaling prompt here. Let me just find it. So your journaling prompt is, how can I handle this potent moon phase in a powerful and healthy way? Get your journal out, sit and reflect. Make sure you take time to stop, slow down, breathe, forgive, release. If you can't join me on the moon ceremony, then just take some time for yourself, light a candle, be aware of what it is that you need to let go of. If you know your rising sign, you can find out which house area this is affecting you. And I'm just going to see if any more cards want to come out. Whilst I'm shuffling, just remember that when the world feels out of control, this is when it's important to take responsibility for your own actions and to return to yourself. For me personally, getting on my mat, doing Strala yoga is how I can feel more like me. And we've got the card, the Four of Earth, come out here. Look at that, Four of Earth. It's like we've got four moons up there, doesn't it? I'll just see if I can find a little explanation for you of that. Let's see what wants us to know. So yeah, ownership, taking ownership, the beauty of divine order. So even though it feels like chaos, it is always in divine order, and trusting in a solid foundation, which is our earth, which is ourselves, our own earthly selves. Even if I feel shaken up and I am unable to understand why things happen as they do, I know for certain that divine order manifests in all aspects of my life. I'm going to leave you with that message, and I won't leave it 2 weeks again. So I really hope you can join me on Wednesday evening so that I can meet some of you who are listening to me out there. And, take care of yourselves. And I wish you as smooth and as calm and as conflict-free full moon in Aries as possible. See you next week.